Cosmic Awakening, 1991. Peru, Journey into the Unknown. Sacred Valley of the Incas. By Makaula. April 26, 1991. Ollantaytambo. Episode 17, Stone Fortress of Ollantaytambo. Our morning began with stories about the UFOs from the previous night. It turned out that by the time Saki and the others stepped out of our room and looked back up at the night sky, it was already blanketed entirely in clouds and the craft had completely vanished. Hearing that, Tamta mentioned that she had felt an irresistible urge to go outside around the very same time, but upon stepping out and looking up, there wasn't a single fragment of stars, only white clouds covering the sky from horizon to horizon. Kuboki shared that in his dream that night, everyone on the tour was invited aboard a massive mothership. Just like him, quite a few members of the group seemed to have experienced UFO-related dreams last night. The schedule for the day involved visiting the ruins of Ollantaytambo in the morning, followed by another session of Jaziwa's workshop in the afternoon. Our bus ran alongside the Urubamba River, arriving in about 30 minutes at the suspension bridge near the entrance of the ruins. The water level of the Urubamba River, having just exited the rainy season, was remarkably high, flowing fiercely toward the Amazon as a muddy ochre torrent. Ever since the suspension bridge came into view, a fairly large boulder standing right beside it had caught my eye strangely and wouldn't let go. I stared at it for a long time. It felt like a strong telepathic sensation, as though that rock were calling out to me. For some reason, I couldn't help being drawn to that boulder. Across the river stood several residential houses opening up into a modest plain. Behind them rose a mountain covered in green grass, and from that visual composition, the relationship between the boulder and its surroundings felt profoundly out of place. There were no other megalithic boulders anywhere around it. Just that single massive rock sat heavily, buried right in the middle of a field at the edge of the residential area. Because I was so captivated by the rock, the moment the bus stopped in the plaza before the suspension bridge, I hurried across the wooden footbridge connecting the riverbanks and dashed away at full speed straight toward the gigantic boulder. The wooden suspension bridge spanning the Urubamba River was quite old. Parts of it were fractured, allowing glimpses of the rushing river beneath through the gaps. The water wasn't a clear stream. It flowed vigorously like muddy soil-laden brown water right after a rainfall. Because our break time was short, I hurried across the bridge, slipped past the side of a residential house, and pushed forward single-mindedly toward the rock without looking aside. The roadside was covered in an unfamiliar variety of cactus I had never seen before. It was entirely obvious that, if I lost my footing and fell, I would instantly be impaled by its thorns. The path grew narrower as I approached the massive boulder, and upon reaching a spot about 5 meters away, I realized the rock was entirely surrounded by prickly cacti. I paused to wonder what to do, but ultimately could not get any closer. Deciding at least to take a photograph of the boulder, the moment I raised my camera, I lost my footing and sat down hard on the ground. In that split second, the tip of my foot plunged straight into a cluster of cacti. Despite wearing thick-soled fitness shoes, the cactus needles pierced right through the shoe leather and denim jeans straight into my foot. Enduring the pain, I pulled out the needles, which were shaped like fishhooks designed to embed themselves into whatever they pierced. Fortunately, they hadn't penetrated deeply, so I extracted the piercing spines and limped back toward the bus on my stinging foot. As I left that spot, for some reason, I felt a strong conviction that I would return to this place once more. It was a deep sense of understanding that vastly transcended my ordinary way of thinking. On my way back along the path I had come, I ran into Dadashi asking Elix a question about a bird's carcass impaled on the tip of a thin pole stuck beside a field. I thought it might be a condor, but it was actually a dead hawk. I missed hearing whether it was meant as a protective talisman or a deterrent against hawks that plundered the fields. Contrary to my expectation that numerous condors inhabited the Andean terrain, Elix explained that their numbers were actually in rapid decline. As humans pushed forward with mountain development and land clearing, the birds were being chased deeper and deeper into the remote mountain interiors. Later, while crossing the suspension bridge back to the bus, we passed an indigenous man carrying coca leaves. He and others were walking along the railroad tracks running parallel to the Urubamba River, bearing mountain-sized bundles of coca leaves strapped to their backs. feeling as though I had caught a glimpse into a slice of their unhurried, peaceful lifestyle. I felt a sense of awe toward their concept of time, alongside an inner recognition of my own lack of true freedom. Perched at the northern end of the sacred valley in Peru, Ollantaytambo stands as one of the most remarkable and best-preserved architectural marvels of the Inca Empire. Unlike many other ancient sites that were reduced to ruins or abandoned entirely, Ollantaytambo is a rare living Inca town, where descendants of the original inhabitants still reside in ancient stone-walled homes lining grid-patterned cobblestone streets that have functioned continuously for over 5 centuries. Ollantaytambo's history is deeply tied to the height of the Inca Empire under its greatest rulers. The royal estate of Pachacuti. In the mid-15th century, the 9th Inca emperor, Pachacuti, the visionary ruler credited with expanding the empire and commissioning Machu Picchu, conquered the region. He destroyed the pre-existing settlement, expropriated the land, and transformed Ollantaytambo into a grand royal estate, administrative center, and ceremonial site incorporating agricultural terraces, storehouses, and elite quarters. The Battle of Ollantaytambo, 1537. Following the Spanish conquest of Cusco, Manco Inca retreated to the Sacred Valley and made Ollantaytambo his stronghold. In 1537, Spanish forces led by Hernando Pizarro marched on the fortress. The Incas achieved a rare and stunning victory by flooding the vast agricultural plains below the terraces, forcing the heavily armored Spanish cavalry into the mud and repelling them with a barrage of projectiles from the heights above. However, recognizing that the position was ultimately untenable against advancing reinforcements, Manco Inca later abandoned the fortress and retreated deeper into the Amazon basin to establish the Neo-Inca state of Vilcabamba. The ruins of Ollantaytambo are dominated by a massive ceremonial center and fortress complex carved directly into the rugged Andean mountainside, showcasing the pinnacle of Inca engineering. The terrace slopes, soaring at an imposing 40-degree incline, massive agricultural terraces step up the mountain face. These terraces were not only vital for crop production across varying microclimates, but also served as a formidable defensive barrier, stabilizing the hillside against erosion and landslides. The Sun Temple, the wall of the Six Monoliths. At the summit of the terraces lies the unfinished Temple of the Sun. Its centerpiece is a wall formed by 6 colossal pink granite monoliths, fitted together with astonishing precision. Weighing upwards of 50 tons each, these massive stones were quarried at Cachichita, across the raging Urubamba River, and transported across treacherous terrain, a feat of ancient logistics that continues to baffle modern engineers. The storehouses, cacti, perched high on the steep, arid slopes of the surrounding mountains, overlooking the complex are numerous stone storehouses. Built high up where the wind was cool and strong, these structures utilized natural ventilation to preserve maize, potatoes, and dried meats for the empire. Beyond its military and agricultural functions, Ollantaytambo was a profoundly sacred landscape. The towering cliffs framing the complex were viewed by the Incas as physical manifestations of sacred mountain spirits, apas. Most famously, the sheer rock face of Mount Pinquiluna, opposite the fortress, features natural and carved rock formations, resembling the profile of an Inca face, traditionally associated with Tunupa, a pre-Inca creator deity. Today, Ollantaytambo serves as a vital bridge between the ancient past and the present, offering travelers a rare glimpse into the sophisticated urban planning, spiritual worldview, and unyielding resilience of the Inca civilization. No other tourists were inside at the ruins of Ollantaytambo, and nearly all the doors of the surrounding homes were shut tight, leaving no trace of people. Just like the Pisik ruins, this site was practically reserved exclusively for us. Stepping past a white adobe wall, the overall site of the Ollantaytambo ruins felt much more imposing and massive than depicted in guidebook photos. With terrace stone agricultural fields climbing upward at an incline of roughly 40 degrees. As always, the blazing sun baked our skin intensely. In front of the ruins plaza, Edward told us, the temple located halfway up the mountain in front of the ruins is likely the entrance to the storage facility built during the Az era that Jaziwa spoke of. His opinion was that this fortress had been constructed specifically to monitor the entrance to that storage facility. From a strict archaeological standpoint, the area surrounding this ruin site was a town known as a tambo, lodging station, and records indicate that an Inca emperor fleeing the Spaniards retreated to this town, transforming it into a sturdy stone fortress in the span of just a single year. However, driven further into a corner, the Inca emperor reportedly abandoned even this fortress, retreating deeper into the Amazon to found a new city called Vilcabamba, where he was ultimately cornered by conquerors in the deep interior of the Amazon and eradicated. The near-perfect craftsmanship of these ruins grows increasingly precise the further back one looks in time. The stonework of structures built prior to the Inca civilization possessed unbelievable stone-cutting precision and perfection. I attempted meditation near the fortress at the summit of the ruins, close to a structure formed by 6 megalithic monoliths. Perhaps because I hadn't felt any deep personal attachment to the ruins from the outset, the result of my meditation wasn't quite what I had anticipated. Entering the meditative state gave me a sensation as though my consciousness were expanding. Suddenly, my focus shifted outward, and despite keeping my eyes closed, my field of vision felt widened. Within that expanded scope, I perceived a vague red light. Growing bored because the image refused to sharpen, I opened my eyes. The blue sky was dazzling, almost as if it would scorch my eyes. Gathering my resolve, I tried again, but the result was the same, a sensation suggesting that some mass of energy lay deep underground. A male participant from Hiroshima, well-versed in Shinto, carried a compass and told us that near the center of the 6-stone monolith, the compass needle went haywire. That rock presumably contained significant magnetic properties. The connection between Ollantaytambo's top stone walls, specifically the famous wall of the 6 monoliths at the Sun Temple, and reported electromagnetic abnormalities centers on a mix of petrographic science, anomalous field observations, and modern alternative exploration. The massive stones at the summit of Ollantaytambo are carved from pink granite and andesite. High mineral content. Igneous rocks like granite and andesite contain significant amounts of quartz crystals, iron-bearing minerals such as magnetite and feldspar. Piezoelectric properties. Quartz-bearing rocks possess natural piezoelectric properties, meaning they can generate an electrical charge or react under mechanical stress, pressure, or temperature shifts. Visitors, guides, and researchers exploring the upper terraces and the center of the 6 monoliths have frequently noted that compass needles can fluctuate or behave erratically. This phenomenon is often attributed to the high concentration of iron and magnetic minerals embedded directly within the heavy igneous blocks brought from the Kachikata quarry across the river. When massive blocks of high-density, crystal-rich stone are concentrated in a single geometric alignment, like a retaining wall or a sacred enclosure, they can create localized micromagnetic fields that interfere with standard magnetic compasses. The stonework at the top of Ollantaytambo is famous for its razor-thin, mortarless joints and seismic dampening geometry. Indigenous and esoteric interpretations, as well as accounts from experiential travelers, often suggest that ancient sacred sites were deliberately built upon geological nodes or earth energy lines. Whether viewed through the lens of strict geophysics, mineral composition affecting localized magnetic fields, or ancient anomalous traditions, the top of Ollantaytambo remains a place where physical matter, massive scale, and subtle energetic anomalies uniquely converge. When I stood before that unfinished wall at Ollantaytambo and watched the way the massive stones interacted with the smaller infill materials, my intuition bypassed the rigid confines of academic orthodoxy. I were witnessing what physical evidence quietly suggests, that the builders of the ancient Andes did not merely fight against the unyielding hardness of stone, they mastered a forgotten technology of matter itself, temporarily melting the rigid boundaries of the mineral world to mold it into living geometry. Standing before the unfinished upper terraces of Ollantaytambo, staring into the stark geometric intervals where smaller stones fill the gaps between colossal interlocking megaliths, triggers a profound perceptual shift. When the orthodox narrative of brute force hammering, copper chisels, and endless abrasion fails to account for the sheer perfection of fit, alternative explanations rise to the surface. Your observation of a second, seemingly mid-process wall of the 6 monoliths points directly toward one of the most compelling and controversial anomalies in megalithic architecture: the hypothesis of stone softening, geopolymerization, or outright liquefaction. In traditional masonry, even the finest ashlar masonry of Greece or Rome, blocks are quarried, dressed, and fitted tightly edge to edge. Any structural gaps or construction miscalculations are typically corrected with tight joints or mortar. At Ollantaytambo, however, observers frequently note sections where massive multi-ton megaliths are separated by precise vertical channels filled entirely with smaller, tightly packed fieldstones or bonding material. To the casual eye, it looks like construction was halted halfway through. But looking closer, the edges of the massive blocks flanking these gaps do not look like they were fractured or hacked away by a chisel. They possess smooth, undulating, almost organic contours, as if two blocks of clay were pressed together while soft end, then pulled apart, leaving a viscous plastic bridge between them. How could granite or andesite, hard, crystalline, igneous rocks, ever exhibit the properties of a malleable substance? Researchers studying alternative paradigms, such as materials scientist Joseph Davidovits, proponent of the pyramids as concrete theory, and independent Andean researchers, suggest two primary mechanisms for softened stone. Geopolymer agglomeration, artificial stone. Rather than carving a 50-ton block from a distant quarry and hauling it up a vertical mountain face, advanced ancient builders may have utilized a geopolymer technique. By crushing local stone aggregate, granite andesite powder, and mixing it with a natural, highly alkaline chemical binder derived from local clays and plant extracts, they could create a liquid stone slurry. This slurry was poured into wooden or stone forms on site, where it chemically hardened into stone virtually indistinguishable from natural rock. The unfinished walls may represent forms that were poured, partially set, or interrupted mid-process. Thermal or chemical softening, geochemical liquefaction. Another fringe yet chemically plausible hypothesis involves the use of high heat or organic plant acids, such as those derived from specific Andean vines, famously documented in local legends regarding the chinchillo bird, which is said to melt rock to carve its nest. If granite is subjected to intense, concentrated thermal shock combined with specific chemical catalysts, the crystalline matrix can temporarily lose its structural rigidity, entering a state of microscopic plasticity, where it can be molded, shaped, and pressed together like soft dough before recrystallizing. When examining the megaliths of Ollantaytambo and Sacsayhuaman up close, mainstream archaeology points to peck marks created by pounding stones against stones as proof of manual labor. However, many of these marks do not look like impacts from a hammerstone. Rather, they resemble ripple effects across the faces of the stone, as if a thick fluid slowly cascaded downward before setting. Protruding nubs or knobs on the centers of blocks that bear no structural load, features often explained as lifting bosses, but which structurally mirror the flow patterns of port or viscous material. In situ molding, corners that wrap around adjacent blocks with a fluidity that defies the rigid straight-edge mechanics of a chisel. It appears as though the stone conformed to its neighbor, while in a semi-liquid state. Interestingly, indigenous Andean oral history does not credit the Inca with cutting these stones with bronze chisels. According to local legend, the megaliths were shaped by ancient deities or beings who possessed a secret liquid extract, a plant-based sap or chemical secret, capable of softening stone. Manker are rock-melting substances so that it could be easily manipulated by hand like clay. One lesson learned from visiting various ruins is that brief drive-by sightseeing stays rarely yield deep spiritual insights from a visit. The key is likely to perform exercises or meditate until one feels their own energy frequency resonate adequately with the inherent frequency of the site. While certain locations allow individuals to experience realizations and visions without such practices, those instances are rare or occur when an individual shares a specific, powerful connection with the location. Ultimately, it comes down to how deeply one can perceive the vibrational frequency of the land during the journey. Our visit to the Ollantaytambo ruins concluded in that manner. Though it was a sight that left me with a lingering sense of curiosity, nothing could be done within the constraints of our limited time. Unable to spend as much leisurely time among the ruins as I had hoped, we had to return to the hotel for lunch. On the return journey, looking at the cart paths along the Urubamba River overflowing with yellow flowers resembling rapeseed blossoms, I was reminded of rapeseed flowers blooming in my hometown's rural rice paddies, which no longer exist. Rubamba's natural scenery felt somewhat similar to Japan's nature, making the landscape feel deeply familiar. Was I involved in constructing the Oz storage facilities? That afternoon's schedule consisted of a Q&A seminar via Jaziwa's channeling. We had written down our questions on slips of paper beforehand. The questions were read out at random, and Jaziwa provided the answers. Since I was curious about the vision I had seen during the previous night's meditation, I decided to submit a question about it. Jaziwa began with a brief opening talk regarding dimensional gateways existing in Peru. There exist dimensional gateways in Peru where multiple dimensions intersect, and at such points, human thoughts and energies are amplified. Regardless of the content of those thoughts, they expand and flow onward in the direction of amplification. Jaziwa urged us to continually project positive thoughts about our future and the world throughout our stay in this mystical land of Peru. And precisely as they instructed, we began learning through our journey to think positively about the futures we desired and utilize the power of our thoughts constructively. Jaziwa answered the questions one by one, with my question read out last. It concerned the river of red minerals and the river of crystals I had seen during the previous night's meditation, alongside the underground door and keyhole I had witnessed during the initial channeling session. In response to my question, they stated that those visions constituted a form of my own memory. During the far-distant Oz era, there existed a river made of crystal and a garden made of ruby, and I was one of the individuals engaged in activities to establish the storage facility that preserved those records. The underground door and keyhole served as symbols of that, and solving the mystery required uniting the key and the door. And at the ruins of Machu Picchu next, I would experience an event that served to confirm precisely that. As we experienced, a tour with a spiritual purpose takes on an even more special meaning when accompanied by figures like Edward and Jaziwa. Edward, the channeler, hosted various seminars alongside Jaziwa and had visited this land many times in the past. Jaziwa provided us with precise support, offering rich seminar content, focused on inner observation, healing, energy, and the workings of thought. Without such elements, this trip might have ended up as half-baked as many of the tours experienced thereafter. In the course of a journey with a spiritual purpose to a sacred place, various extraordinary events occur quite suddenly. However, if people capable of accurately supporting those events are present, it ensures reliable guidance for those undergoing such spiritual experiences. In the middle of an extraordinary experience, it is genuinely difficult to remain calm and maintain a broad perspective. If mishandled, one might be swept away by those unusual spiritual experiences, becoming overly elated and misinterpreting the encounter entirely. Many people experience an extraordinary spiritual event and become so elated, proclaiming, "I've experienced something so amazing," that they forget to learn anything from it. In other words, I believe that having a spiritual leader guide the group and steer the journey along a few focus themes can fundamentally transform the nature of the trip, making it possible to glean diverse lessons. Moreover, by uniting the thoughts and vibrations of a large number of people heading in the same direction, it becomes possible to experience remarkable things. Thanks to the fact that our group included people of various age groups, professions, perspectives, and backgrounds, the overall cohesion of the group ultimately became wonderful. To be a witness to people who were complete strangers before joining the tour, growing rapidly closer, coming together, and spiritually blossoming side by side is truly a wonderful thing. Following the Q&A session, we came to learn about the energy of love and how to express it. By some twist of fate, people expressed their past experiences and feelings with the energy of love, healed and encouraged one another, and ultimately experienced a wonderful, love-filled moment where everyone joined in a chorus and hugged one another. By sharing such an experience together, people who were total strangers until moments before could be welcomed into one's life as lifelong friends, into the energy of love and healing. This journey was deeply happy for us. Personally, I was able to learn a great deal from that experience of sharing love. In the past, I actually disliked touching others and being touched by them. Even being hugged lightly caused me resistance. And I hated myself for resisting that very thing. Why do I dislike expressing love? Why am I afraid of having love expressed to me and of expressing it myself? Another self inside my heart drove me forward with such questions. As I watched everyone around me hugging, encouraging, and healing one another, I was swept away into a space where that immense energy of love swirled and shone, forcing me to embrace others and be embraced, to express love, and to accept love when it was expressed to me. Before long, I had no choice but to surrender. Amidst the love and healing energy unconditionally offered with open arms, I grew frustrated with my own resistance. And I was terrified that it might change me. The space unfolding before my eyes was unlike anything I had ever experienced before. I realized that I had been afraid of it. I understood that I had never learned about love, and that I had had few chances to learn. I had never given myself the chance to receive love or to express it. The energy of love without expectations. The energy of love demanding nothing in return. The energy of love rejecting nothing. Such unconditional energy of love forced nothing upon me. If I disliked it, I could deceive my inner self, pretend to express love, and run away from it. I could have done that had I wished. If I had closed my heart and made it cold, it would have been easy to do. Yet I could not run away from it. Amidst the gentle, expanding and contracting, calm yet exhilarating energy pulsating right before my eyes, I could feel that I alone was resisting it. No one forced anything upon me, and there were no strategies or suspicions there. That space of love and healing simply existed, shining quietly as it waited for me to open my arms, to open my heart, to express the loving part within myself, and to share it. I knew I could no longer run away from myself. No one was stopping me from stepping into that energy of love and healing. The one stopping it was none other than myself. And the moment I gathered my courage and took a single step into that energy of love and healing, I realized my body was tense. I knew my heart was tense too. And I found myself shedding tears as I learned what it meant to be hugged and to hug others within that dazzling light of love and healing energy. We applauded the people who had opened the door to such an experience, free of fear. We grabbed Edward, who had supported us in various ways, and hoisted him up in a celebratory toss Dorowage. Amidst that, a male healer said, "Well then, let's sing Happy Birthday, Happy Birthday." That song echoed through the room, celebrating our souls as we touched the energy of love and healing for a new life, discovered ourselves, and were reborn. Thus, we spent the final afternoon and evening in the sacred valley, laughing and singing until bedtime. The dinner tables were arranged in a U-shape, reminiscent of Christ's Last Supper, painted by Da Vinci, with candles lit upon decorative stands atop white tablecloths. 3 musicians dressed in traditional attire played ancient Peruvian melodies. Edward gave a short greeting, offering a toast to the rest of the tour and the night in the sacred valley. Dinner progressed amidst hearty laughter. As wine was poured generously into glasses, everyone chatted, laughed, and sang. Finally, mimicking what we saw, we danced the Peruvian line dance, and dinner stretched on endlessly. To be continued. Watch and listen. Watch the cinematic video trailer. Listen to the full podcast now. Explore the archived Cosmic Awakening Volume 1, 1991, Peru, Journey into the Unknown. Sacred Valley of the Incas. Volume 2, Ascension 2012, The Golden Alchemy. Part 3, The First Contact. Join the journey. New episodes drop periodically. Each chapter delivers a tight, hyper-focused 10 to 30-minute hit of real-life experiences, perfect for your daily plunge into consciousness exploration. Subscribe to support your inner development. Thumbs up to help push our channel through the algorithm. Comment below. Share your thoughts on today's episode.